I believe that there's bound to be some players that will actually fall off next year. And today, it wasn't the plan, but we'll just be talking about the offensive side. But before we talk about them, I'm going to say that no way am I hoping for these players to drop off or disappoint. I just believe they will based on other players that have had a steady decline from some prior years or based on these players' age. But our first player is going to be Matthew Stafford. He's 36 as of now, and I think injuries will start holding him back some. I really like Stafford, but I think this year will be his first major step back in terms of production. Obviously, he was injured prior to last year, but he finished a little under 4K yards. This past year, he finished with a higher than average TD to interception ratio with almost 2 to 1, throwing 24 to 11. Although his completion percentage was about the same as the past 5 years, I think that could slide a bit too. A lot of people have been calling him to fall off for a couple years, but I think this is truly the year that that the Rams might consider a replacement within the next 2 years. Now, he did just restructure or sign an extension, but I still believe that even through that extension, they might have a contingency plan behind him, and they could draft a guy in the later rounds. I don't think Stetson Bennett is that guy, and I don't think it's Jimmy Garoppolo either. But before we move on to our second player, let me know who your players you think will drop off are. And now let's move on. Our second player is going to be one who already took a small step back, Travis Kelce. Kelce is a great tight end, but he'll be 35 a little bit after the season starts, and the Chiefs actually brought in more weapons for Mahomes to work with. The Chiefs wide receiver depth chart will look much improved from last year with additions of Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown. They're also much improved than last year when they had MVS as their number one receiver. I also think the Chiefs might try to use Noah Gray a little bit more this year. Kelce did have a little over 900 yards last year, and I believe he'll have a little above 700, maybe around 7 TDs too this year. Obviously, that's a solid stat line, but for Kelce, it's clearly a step back. But he might still see a bit of targets, at least for half the season, depending on what Rashee Rice's suspension does look like. And obviously, he was also there with the Chiefs last year. Another offensive player, which wasn't the plan, but Aaron Rodgers won't be 80% of what he was 2 years ago. He'll be alright, but I honestly think that the Jets are getting a bit overhyped. I think they'll finish about 9 to 10 wins, but I don't get these number one in the AFC East or saying they'll finish above 11 wins. I think they'll be borderline playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be as special as people think. But as for Rodgers, really, I think he'll be fine. Obviously, last 2 seasons that he played, he was easily top 5. But I think after this year, people will consider him around the 10 to 16 range, which is to be expected with age and missing a season. I think he could start off hot this year, but I think he'll die down and be alright for the rest. And that's it for this video. I want to make another one of these, but I actually include defensive players. And I wasn't going to go all offensive, but it's just kind of how it went. I hope you guys tune in for another video.